I love weddings are always fun, but also really excited to be here with all of you and to get to have this conversation, even though we're a couple minutes late. Thanks for bearing with the tech difficulties here. It actually feels really meta because one of the things I was thinking about, we're going to chat about how I built a Facebook group of 16,000. I think we're at 16,700 or something like that now. And one of the things I was thinking about is just how grateful I am for all of you and how every Tuesday I look forward to hanging with you, getting to have these conversations. And I genuinely love that and appreciate all of you for being here. So before we dive into some of the strategy and the mindset pieces around that and some of the things I want to share around that, I also just want to take a moment to thank you for being here and to say I love you all so much. And sincerely and truly, it has been, I don't know, it's just such a gift to get to hang with you all and get to share this work. As many of you know, this is my life's passion. And so what a gift to get to share that with you every week. So I did want to say that as we dive in, because I think that's a big part of what we're going to be talking about as well. So let's just see here. I feel like I'm all discombobulated with it being, I feel like we're on Instagram right now. So what we're going to dive into today is chatting about how I did build this Facebook group and how I built it to something that's profitable and engaged. And that's the piece I really want to dive into with you. And we're going to dive into some of the mindset, the strategy, the clarity pieces, and the action pieces there for you. If you have questions, throw them at me. I do have a hard out today. Usually we go on a little longer because I'm doing a podcast interview. So if there's something I don't cover that you want to know, drop me a question. I'll either respond to in the comments or I will do another live stream. We can have another conversation around this, but I want to make sure this is super valuable for you all. So leave me comments, leave me questions. And I think we didn't actually put this in our notice for today's live stream. We usually do a giveaway to thank you for spending your time hanging out with me. So let's say whoever leaves a comment, we'll pick a winner. We usually pick them on Thursday, I think. We'll give away a copy of Content That Stands Out and Sells, my 5-part content course. I think it's pretty darn epic. I've had clients who've used that and just using the material from that course alone have gone on to make 10K months. So I think it's a pretty great course. Hey, Ariel, nice to have you here. Nice to have so many fun faces. All right, let's dive in. So one of the things I was sharing with y'all that feels really important to speak to in terms of growing this group is really speaking to the fact that, yes, I'm so grateful for every single human that is one of the 16,700, however many people. And what I want to say is this is less about how big to grow a Facebook group or how big to grow your Instagram platform or how big to grow your email list. And I think of this more as it's really about each and every human in front of us with wherever we're building an audience. So I want us to take that frame today as we're talking through some of these things. That's the approach I always take. That's the approach I encourage my clients to take. That's what I want you to feel in this group. And I also want you to think what we're talking about today. A lot of what I'm going to be sharing is not brand new information. This is stuff you know already. We're just maybe going to talk about in a way that'll hopefully land in a slightly different way. But I want to invite you to think about how you can apply this to any platform, right? This isn't about Facebook groups are the way to make profit in your business. Facebook groups are the way to scale to multi-six figures. You can grow an audience anywhere. Every platform works. This is more some clarity, mindset, strategy, and action around how to build that audience and how to have it convert into engagement and profit, those conversions. Because here's what I want you to know. I started this group when there were 13 people in here. One of those people were my mom, so if that even right grammar. One was my boyfriend, now husband. One was my brother, right? So 3 of the 13 people were my family members. A handful of them were friends and a handful were people I was growing the group. I probably made my first 6 figures in my business. I want to say probably less than 500 people in this group. There were definitely less than 500 people on my email list. When I made my first multi-6 figures, there were less than 600, probably less than 800 people on my email list. Probably only definitely not as many people in this group. And I'm sharing that with you because I do not want this conversation to be about how do we grow as many people into our audience as possible, because then we lose sight, unless you are monetizing an audience because you're doing like brand awareness and that's how you monetize your business, or you're maybe a blog that monetizes like clicks on your website. Unless that's the way you monetize your business, for most of you in this group, the audience growth and the numbers aren't what matters. What matters is growing a group, growing an audience, growing an email list that is engaged with you and your work and that can give you profit. And so that's actually the piece I want us to talk about and want us to think about, not the numbers piece, because if you start chasing the numbers, you lose the whole point in your business, and that is not what will give you the engagement and profit, right? The engagement and profit isn't from more numbers. It's from the connection and the relationships you're building with each individual human. I'd rather everyone here focus on growing a relationship with 10 more people in their audience than 100,000 and see how much further that will get you in terms of engagement and profitability. Brittany says, that's so amazing. My group is at 450. I hope you're saying that to the point of like when I hit the first 6 figures. I really think I don't even know if my group was at 450 yet, Brittany. So wanting to reflect that to everyone, because I think what happens and what I hear from clients so often is we create a story that I can't have the results I want. I can't have the profit I want until my group is super engaged, until I have 16,000 people or 20,000 people or an Instagram following of thousands and thousands and thousands. And that's simply not true. Again, for most of you, even if you're selling group programs that require more humans, think about how many people you actually need to create more of a profit or more revenue in your business. My guess, it's just not as many humans as you think. It's for most of you not going to be 16,000 people. Brittany says, I meant that your group size is amazing. Mine is so tiny. Well, hopefully this will help you see, you want to get to 1,000. Hopefully this will help you see that is a beautiful goal and you can make a ton of profit without having a massive group. I'm also, again, grateful for every single human here and we'll continue to grow. And I think that's part of the point of business, but I want everyone to hear that part as we're talking about looking at some of the strategy pieces here. And Brittany, I totally remember my first goal when I grew this group, when I started this group, my first goal was to have 500 people in my group. And then I remember when I was like journaling, doing my affirmations to have 1,000 people. So just reflecting that to everyone, everyone who has a group of 16,000 people started with 13 people or 20 people. And that's just part of the path of growth for all of us as we're growing an audience. So it feels really, really important to say, because what I do not want this conversation to be about is like, here are the 3 things you do to grow a massive audience, and then that makes you all the money. What I want us to think about is how do we focus on one individual at a time, building those relationships and seeing when we can do that, when we can really understand how to connect and build an audience, build a community, build an email list through that first, one person at a time mentality. That's what creates engagement. That's what creates growth. That's what has more people want to come hang out with you, right? That's what leads to the 500, to the 1,000, to the 3,000, to the 5,000 people. And that's what's going to lead, more importantly, to the goal most of you probably have, which is the profitability, right? There are plenty of people who I've had clients come to me who have groups of 80,000 or really big numbers who aren't creating profit in their business. And so this is not to say, I'm not dissing on the group. Again, I'm so grateful for everyone here, but I really want us to not lose sight of the main thing for everyone here. And it's really keeping the main thing and the focus in your business. And so the first thing I would say here, so I want to break this down from some of the mindset pieces and I will give you some really practical, tangible strategy as well that we played with. But one of the first things that I wanted to share with you, and one of the strategies that's allowed this group, yes, to grow, but to grow to a place that it allows me to bring in profit in my business, right? I haven't booked out one-on-one coaching practice. We make multiple 6 figures. We made just under 400K last year, just to give you context. This is the main platform I focus on. One of the main things that's allowed me to have this group be something that allows me to create profit is really understanding what is my goal for this group and what is my goal in my business. And my goal has never, ever been to grow a big group. My goal has always been to focus on building relationships, delivering values, and booking out one-on-one spots, right? The profitability piece. So I reflect that to all of you, because something I coach clients around a lot when they're looking at wanting to grow their audience is looking at how can we really identify what the actual goal for you is and create a strategy around that, and then see your audience growth, your email list growth, your Instagram growth will be a byproduct of that. But when we shift our focus to the email list growth, to the Facebook group growth, to the Instagram growth, and we kind of lose sight of the main goal in your business, which is probably to bring in more revenue, to take home more profit, right? To book more clients, to fill your group program, we start to, rob Peter to feed Paul, whatever that saying is, right? We start to focus on strategies that, yes, will grow your group, but that's how you then become the person who books a consultation with me saying, I don't know what just happened. I built this massive group of 80,000 people and I'm barely making $1,000 a month. What's going on? It's because the strategy you were focused on was group growth, not profitability, not that connection profitability. Is that tracking for everyone? Or is that making sense? And so what I would say is the way we grew a group of 16,000 plus people is by not focusing on growing a group of 16,000 people, right? That's never ever been a goal. The way we grew this group was by focusing on the business goals and how we're leveraging this group, this community, to meet those goals and strategies to meet those other goals, and allowing this to be the beautiful byproduct. Does that make sense for everyone? I know that that's probably maybe an annoying thing to hear, but I think it's really important because our brains are so squirrely in the online space, and we're so we get such a dopamine hit, right? We get a new follower, we get a new like. This happens to me too. I'm on Instagram, right? I want to see how many views did my reel get, and we forget the views on my reel don't necessarily equate to the dollars in my bank account. And unless I'm literally getting paid for the views on my reel, which some business models do, my business model does not, I'm losing the plot, I'm losing the sight of the real thing if profitability is one of my goals, and my profitability comes from one-on-one, or if your profitability, say, comes from a membership or comes from a group program, right? We're sort of losing the whole point if we start focusing our goals around those metrics as opposed to the metrics that actually matter. And see, when you focus on the metrics that matter, those other metrics take care of themselves. That being said, I'm sharing this because someone asked me, how did I grow this group? And I do want to give you some practical, tangible things, but I want you to understand that mindset piece, because I don't want you to grow a massive group. I want you to grow a massive bank account. That's what's important to me for you. Okay, I have so many notes here, and I'm actually scrolling through them because I lost myself in them a little bit. So the next piece here, so going kind of to some practical strategy pieces that I wanted to share with you for that. And again, throw questions at me if you have them, or if you have reflections or anything like that. I want to make sure this is super valuable for you. One of the ways we grew this group, and just kind of now going more to the actual practical, tangible, this is how you grow a Facebook group, or this is how you grow your Instagram page. One of the things we made a very conscious decision around when I started this group, which was, I think it was 4 years ago, it might have been 5 years ago. No, it was probably 4 years ago. I started on Instagram and then we built this group, is I made a very clear and conscious decision that this was going to be my main platform. What I would invite everyone here, wherever you are hanging out on social media, whatever you do want to grow, even though we said we want the profit to be the goal, but wherever you want to grow that audience, let's say it's your email list, I really want to invite you to make an intentional decision to prioritize one platform as the main place you're going to grow, that you are going to intentionally filter all other content to. So why this is really important is, again, when I started this group, I was already active on Instagram. I was already building an audience there. And it would have been really easy for me to kind of split my attention between Instagram and Facebook. And at one point when I was going live in this group, I would go live here and go live on Instagram at the same time. And it would have been great. I would have had an audience in two places. But to be able to grow this group and to have it be both engaged and profitable and to grow it to the numbers, I really had to make a decision and pick where I wanted to encourage growth, because strategically then what I did and what I would invite you to play with, whether it's growing a Facebook group, or let's say you're wanting to grow your email list as your main platform, or the main place you're growing an audience, is anywhere else I was sharing content, I would really make sure that content was pointed back to this group. So for example, if I know Facebook is my main platform, if you know email is your main platform, but you're also hanging out on Instagram, what you don't want to do is give all your good content away, and I don't want to say give it away, but put everything there and never point people back to the main place you want them to be. What I would invite you to do is to think about, how can I make sure I'm strategically sharing things on this platform that keep pointing people back to the place I want them to hang out. One of the ways we can do this is think, if we're creating a Facebook group, if we're creating Instagram as our main place, how can we give people a reason to hang out there? And how can we give them something here that they can't get anywhere else, right? So if I am sharing content that you can get on Instagram and get in my Facebook group, and everything's kind of the same, there's no real incentive for you to come hang out with me in this group. Just like if I'm sharing things on my email list that's exactly the same on Instagram, yes, people will sign up because we can consume in different ways, but there's no real reason for anyone to sign up for that email list. But if you want to intentionally grow an audience somewhere, and you are picking somewhere as your main platform, and we want to drive traffic to that, one of the ways to drive traffic to that is to also think, how can I make sure I have some really valuable content, some really valuable things for people that they can only get here. I'm giving them a reason to hang out here and nowhere else. So is this tracking for everyone? And I think this is one of the best strategies you can use because you're narrowing in your focus, but you're also very strategically teaching people where you want them to consume your content and where you want them to hang out with you. So for example, I go live every week in this group and nowhere else. I'm active on Instagram, but you can't get this content unless you're a member of my group. Right, we send a replay to this, but you got to come into the group to watch the replay, right? I send that to my email list, right? I let Instagram know, right? I'm using my email list and Instagram to send traffic to this group. And I'm basically giving people a reason to hang out here and not somewhere else. If suddenly this content was everywhere else, there'd kind of be no real incentive to be in this group. Is that tracking for, is that making sense for everyone just in terms of a strategy and how you can think about that and intentionally do that, whether it's your Facebook group or your email list? I'll use my email list as an example. I know we're talking about how to grow the Facebook group, but we'll use the email list as an example. I want people to be on my email list to feel like there's something special for them that they can't get anywhere else. So we do a monthly client wins behind the scenes email where you get to have some insights into what helped my client get results, right? You can only get that if you're on my email list. We do a weekly roundup where we collate all the content. I give you a little look behind the scenes in my life. You can only get that if you're on my email list, right? So that is specific to my email list. That encourages people to be there, to open that content. That gives people a reason to be there as opposed to like, I could consume this anywhere. Instagram, now I'm kind of, on all three places. Instagram, we do bite-sized biz lessons. Those are my little, they're 3 to 5 minute lessons. You can only get those on Instagram. So I'm giving those to you as examples so you can think about where can you prioritize your focus? What's the main platform? Where's the place you want to teach people to get the good stuff, right? How can you give people a reason, an incentivized reason to hang out there and make it so that they're getting something they can't get anywhere else? I think that's a really valuable way, not to just grow an audience, but to grow an audience that's going to be engaged with you and your content. Brittany says, do you have a steady flow of people joining your group on the weekly? Yes, and I'll just talk about that now. So this feels really important to speak to. When I started this group, again, my goal was not to grow the group. My goal was to book out my business. So there was a steady flow of people that grew the group, but it was like a person here, a person there. And I will share one of the strategies we use in a second to grow that more. But what happens with Facebook in particular is as your group grows, the algorithm picks this up. And so this is something, I feel like no one talks about this, and it feels really important to say, and it feels really important to speak to. It's sort of like if you can be willing to be consistent and show up, there's going to be a point in which the algorithm picks up your group and it starts showing it to people. And so what happened for me, Brittany, to answer your question is, yes, there was a steady flow of people. I'll share some more things we did to grow the group. There was a steady flow of growth overall and engagement, but it was, kind of like that slow and steady growth. And then at a certain point, the algorithm picked up our group, probably because of that slow and steady growth and probably because of the consistency. This is not necessarily the strategy we're going to share today, but I have been in this group posting content daily since there were 13 people in the group. And I've been showing up and sharing content as if there were 16,000 people and giving that sort of value when there were 13 people. So I do think there are algorithms in each of our group, but that got picked up and you can see this recommended. If you're in a group, it's it'll show you groups that are recommended. Your group will start to get picked up. It'll get picked up for look-alike groups. And so I think that's a really helpful carrot for everyone to know if you can do some of that work to be consistent and to show up at a certain point, Facebook is going to reward you and do some of the heavy lifting for you. And so there was a point for me where sort of it was like a light switch flipped. And I was like, I don't even know what's happening. It's sort of like the work was being done for me. Brittany says, do you invite people regularly from your personal profile too? So I don't invite, I think when I had those first 13 people, I've invited people. I personally don't invite people to my group. That's not been a strategy I've used. I do think that's something, I have clients who do that. I think you can definitely personally invite people into the group. The reason I've never done that again is my goal was never to grow this group. My goal was to book out my business and to have a profitable business. So my goal has always been to invite people into the next step to work with me, as opposed to grow this group. What I did do, Brittany, to answer your question, and one of the things that really supported the growth of this group and kind of what we're piggybacking on with this idea of how do you give people a reason to be in the group and to hang out there is is, well, and I'll explain a couple pieces to this, is we started doing a monthly free event in the group. And I do master classes, I've done challenges. I personally like master classes. I have clients who do challenges, but we started using those as a way to grow the group. But this feels important again, because what we're talking about is not just group growth here. We're talking about how do you grow a group that's profitable, right? I'm going to keep saying that because that is the point. I want everyone here. I don't care if you have 1,000. I mean, I do care for everyone, but I don't care how many people you have as much as I care about the money in your bank account. But we started doing those monthly events. We started doing those monthly events as a way to grow and engage audience, to nurture them, to give value, to sell into what creates profit for me, which is my one-on-one. It might be a group program for someone else. However, because I was very clear on my Facebook group is my priority, I want to give people value in this group they can't get anywhere else. I want to incentivize people to be in this group. I want to give people a reason to be this group. Growing this group is absolutely a part of my strategy for creating profit in my business or revenue in my business. We very strategically offer those master classes in this group and not anywhere else. And so when we promote the masterclass elsewhere, we promote it with a link to join the Facebook group, and you can only get the masterclass or the challenge or whatever, the mini course, in this group itself. So you have to sign up for it, and then you're getting reminder emails to join the group. So that was definitely a way we've had a lot of the growth aside from the algorithm. And the way we invited people into this was really giving people that invitation to the class, to the content value, to the conversion event essentially, and hosting it in this group. And I found that was a really beautiful way to encourage the growth of the group while also encouraging the growth of the business. But he says, oh, I see. So the group doesn't serve as a means to kind of guide people to your work. Is that what you meant? The group absolutely serves as a means. Let me think of how to describe this. The group absolutely serves as a means to grow my business and brings me clients. And I hear from clients all the time, they found me here. Absolutely. And the goal, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this in a way that's going to make sense. And the like frame has always been, how do we keep that focus on the goal in the business is to bring in clients and to serve them, and what kind of value is going to build those relationships that create clients, right? The engagement part that we're talking about in the title here, and what I really believe grows all businesses, is the depth of our connections and the breadth of our relationships. And so yes, this group growth facilitates that, but it was sort of like the focus was first and foremost on building connections and being service and value driven, and seeing that was the vehicle to grow my business, which also grows the group. But I know I don't need 500 more people in this group to grow my business. We're fully booked. You know what I mean? Like that's not even, like more numbers don't even do anything there. So I don't know if that answers your question, Brittany. I think it's just sort of like seeing the intention. And I think that shift can make a really big difference in the profitability of your group, because then we're growing a group based on providing value versus trying to grow numbers. Because I mean, if we just wanted to grow, if all of us just wanted to grow big groups, we could just go inviting a bunch of people. You could do, I don't know, money giveaways. People do that all the time, right? To join the group. Like there's a lot of just, I think, like quick growth hacks, but that doesn't even necessarily mean you're going to be growing a group of people who are going to be engaged with you and your content and your work. Whereas if we're thinking, okay, it's less about how many numbers, but it's more about how am I using this group to grow my business, because the main goal is to grow my business. And we're thinking, okay, so maybe then I'm going to offer a challenge, whatever everyone's business topic is. I'm going to promote that challenge that's going to feed people into my group, that's going to feed people into my business. That absolutely grows your group, but it grows your group with the very people who are interested in the kind of work you have, that have the problem that you solve. So you're really cultivating a group of people who are going to be engaged with you and your work, and that's what's going to drive profit in your business. Does that make sense, Brittany? I hope I'm answering. Give me a follow-up question if that didn't make sense, or if I didn't answer what you were actually asking. I just need a sip of water, y'all. Okay, let's see here. So the other piece here with the actual, I'm just like pulling this down though. That's a little better so then I can read all the comments. With the actual practicals of some of the things we've done to grow this group, and to grow it as a group that's engaged, again, that's really engaged and really focused on serving the business. A couple other strategic lenses I've taken with this group that I invite you to play with, whether or not it's for this group or for your own group or for Instagram or for your email list. I really think you can apply this anywhere. I really thought about how do I build a group that's not about me, but that's about building a community. And how do I build a community I would actually want to show up in and think about what does this community need? What do people want? So I can make it all about them. So all about you, I should say. So I'm always thinking about, and you'll see this in the group, we're thinking a lot about how do we have this group and community serve you as opposed to serve me, because I know that's really the whole point of this, and that serves me anyway indirectly. And so, and this kind of goes back to the idea of like, how do I build a place, or how do I, what's the word I was saying earlier? It's sort of like, oh gosh, my brain just completely, the thought went out of my brain. But kind of thinking on how do I create the thing I would want to show up for? How do I give the things I want to get? How do I give that first? So I think we talk about this a lot when we're talking about sales, which is sort of like, how do you give value before you sell, right? We want to give value first to receive that in return. But I think about this a lot in terms of community growth or email list growth. Like, what's the thing we want our group to do? We want our group to have. How do we really give what we want to get? How do we really make it focused on are people giving them what they want so they have that's what I was going to say, essentially giving people a reason to hang out in your group. Otherwise, like, the truth is there's just so many groups out there, and that's wonderful, but I always think like, I'm so grateful for anyone who wants to be in this group. How can I encourage that? How can I make it about them? Brittany says yes, it makes sense. Okay, awesome. So a couple things we think about is this would not be the case for everyone's Facebook group, but I cater to the people I serve are business owners. What do business owners want? What is the main thing most of you want? It's to grow your business, right? It's to make more money. It's to book more clients. And so if I'm building a community and I'm thinking, how can I make this a place that you want to actually hang out in, that you actually want to be in? How do I make this about you and not about me? It informs a lot of the decisions we make. So for example, we allow promotions and selling in this group really because I want this to be for you, and because I know if you're in this group selling, if you're in this group making money, if you're in this group and you book your next client, right, you want to hang out in here. And if you want to hang out in here, you want to engage with other people. If you want to engage with other people want to engage with other people, right? And I think what happens sometimes, especially when we're building communities, is we can almost get a little scarcity minded where we think, oh my gosh, but like, I'm actually doing this for my business. Kim, earlier you were saying, keep your business goal in mind and like, think about the profitability. And like, if I do that, that's going to mess with my profitability. And I think we really want to see and kind of shift our mindset there and see there's more than enough to go around. Our world is so plentiful. There's so much to go around. Most of us, again, kind of going back to the beginning of our conversation, most of us need a handful of clients. Even if you need 100 people in a program to hit that next revenue goal for you, if you have a group of 1,000 people, that's what, like a tenth of your group, right? There's so much to go around. And I think the more we can take that abundant mindset, and that a mindset that has a very clear understanding of your business goals, but also puts those to the side for a moment, especially when you're building a community, and thinks more about what's in it for my people. How can I make this for them? How can I, yes, serve them with content and things like that, but how can I make this a place they actually want to hang out in? The more people actually then want to be in your group or follow you on Instagram or be on your email list. And then of course, the beautiful thing is, of course, if people are hanging out there and lots of people are making money in your group, or you might have a fitness-based group, right? It might be a very different type of thing you're encouraging engagement or connection or community around. But the more other people are benefiting from one another, of course, you then as the person who's facilitating the group are also going to benefit from that. But I think we encourage the growth and the engagement and the profitability when we're taking that more abundant lens, versus when we're almost thinking like, okay, I got to really protect this and make sure I'm getting mine, and like everything else here is going to hurt me. Hey, I just see a couple other faces on here. So hi, nice to have y'all. Let me know if you have questions, reflections, anything like that. So I think understanding that, and for those of you who have groups in particular and who are building communities, one of the things I would strategically invite you to think about are what are some of the things you can implement, you can allow for from that abundant thinking mindset that really encourage community, that really encourage your people to benefit as a member of being in the group, and that allow them to benefit not only from consuming your content or from buying from you. And I know that sounds very counterintuitive or almost the opposite of what we were talking about at the beginning of this live stream. But again, if we're building a community is about all of the people in it, right? We want people to benefit from one another. And I think if you can take that lens and you can think through that and think through how can I then implement, whether it's posts or sharing threads, or if you are a business owner, the opportunity to sell, or if it's the opportunity to, I don't know, if you're a fitness group, maybe it's the opportunity to share the workouts that work for you, whatever's legally allowed there, right? But if you can encourage that community, you're giving people, again, a reason to be in your group. You're making them want to be there. And if they're benefiting from it, from other ways, right? Like that is just a trickle down and up effect. So I need another sip of water, but I think that is something we can forget about so often when we're building communities or when we're building groups that I really want to encourage you to think about. I think that's something that's served the growth of this group a lot, because something I know in terms of where some of the members of our group have come from is I know because we encourage those things, we're on a couple lists of like, this is a group that's active where you can sell and you can promote it. And some people who, people create those Facebook groups, right? Because we're giving people a reason to benefit by being in here. And it's not just all like how I can benefit, because I want all of you to benefit. I want all of you to make so much money. I hope all of you book clients from this group. But because of that, that makes this a group people want to share with others. And so that is a way you can strategically think about how to grow your audience, whether it is, I think this works particularly well with communities, but it's going to work on Instagram as well, or with your email list. But to think about how can I make this a place that benefits people so much they want to share it with others, because then that starts to serve and do your marketing for you. And I think the same is true for all of our work, but we're talking about group and audience growth in general. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. But if you have a question, let me know. The other piece to that from the kind of strategy element that I want to speak to is, this is a bit of a mindset or a perspective, the way I think about it, and then I'll share the kind of practical, tangible things here. But I always think about, how do you give what you want to get first, and how do you encourage what you want to get more of? So this is overall in marketing and overall in sales, but particularly with what we're talking about here with growing a Facebook group. One of the thought processes I've always had is, how do I give what I want to get, and how do I encourage more of what I want to get more of? So with that, what I mean is, if I want to have a group that is engaged, and that is one of the goals of my group, because I know when a group is engaged, people want to hang out there, right? That works the algorithm. That's going to help my group get shown so that more people want to join. That's only going to support me, my business, and my profitability, right? That engagement is quite important. One of the things I want to think is then, okay, if that's one of the goals of my group, how do I give what I want to get? That means if I want to encourage engagement, I probably need to make sure I'm engaging as well. And I know this is so caption obvious, but I think we lose sight of this sometimes. I think sometimes we think there's this like secret Facebook group hack where it's like, this is how you get people to engage in a group. And what I will share so transparently is, I think one of the reasons this group is engaged is because it wasn't engaged at one point. When I started this group and there was 13 people and then 50 people and 100 people, right? It was a lot quieter, but I showed up every single day to share content, and I showed up every single day to engage with people and to encourage engagement. And we still do that today. I'm sure many of you know, right? We're engaging, and I mean, as much as possible. Obviously, we can't engage with everyone, but that is something we've done from day one. And so what I would invite you to think about is, if you want to grow an engaged community, whether that's on Instagram or whether that's on Facebook, or email's a little different because it's a little bit more of a one-sided conversation, but think about, how can I give what I want to get? If engagement is part of what you want to get, how are you ensuring you're giving engagement first? How are you really making that a priority, a part of your strategy? And I think this is just smart strategy anyway. If we think about marketing, it's everything we've been talking about here. It's all about the relationships we build. It really is about those connection points. So I think that's just really smart for your business anyway, to think, how am I making sure I'm intentionally showing up and connecting with people and engaging, and seeing that's always going to serve your business, whether or not you're trying to, grow your audience or anything like that. And then with the other piece there in terms of, and how do you encourage more of what you want to get? I think this is something, whether again, you have a Facebook group or Instagram or your email list, thinking through what are the actions we want our members to take that we want to encourage, and being really clear on that, and then encouraging that by, so for example here, because this is not just about how do we grow 16,500 people in a group, but how do we have this be an engaged group people want to hang out in? One of the things I know is I want to encourage people to share their content, to be able to sell, to engage and connect with one another. So if that's something I want as an action in this group, because I want this an engaged group, I'm then strategically thinking through, how do I encourage those actions I want to get, instead of just kind of like hoping that that happens. And so, I mean, this is, I think, not rocket. You can probably see what we do in this group, but a couple of things we do to encourage those actions, right? We have, when you join this group, I have a welcome email that walks you through literally how to use this group to make money and to book clients. All right, that is one of the first things you get when you join this group. I did a live stream that tells you, I walk you through how you can use this Facebook group to get booked out and to make money. If you don't have it and you want, I'll make sure we drop a link to the replay there. And in that, one of the things we let people know, which is very true, like FYI, if you want to use this group to get booked out and to book clients, share your content in the feed, engage with other members, share your offers in the feed, right? Share more value than you make offers, share those value posts, and engage, leave comments, right? Engage with one another, right? That's really the simplest strategy I could give you for using this Facebook group. If you start doing that, I'm pretty sure you could book a client from this group. There's 16,700 people in here. There's probably a next client for you in here, right? Those are some simple action steps you can take to make that happen. And that also, right, this is kind of like everything we've been talking about here, right? I have to have that abundant mindset to do that, but those are also the actions I want to encourage you to take, because I want to encourage engagement. I want to encourage you to post in the group. I want to encourage you to engage with one another. I want to encourage that community. So I want to make that live stream and share that with you. Yeah, so you book out clients and you book out your business and make that money. Absolutely. That's the whole point of this group. That's the whole reason I built this group, right? This group is more for you than it is for me at this point. I'm booked out. I have very few spots available. This is for you. And those are the actions I want to encourage because I want engagement. So I am being very intentional and really encouraging the actions I want people to take. Let me know if that's tracking, if that makes sense. For example, another thing we do is we'll often highlight and shout out the people who engage the most in the group. Right? We'll do a post and we'll say, like, these are the top contributors in the group. Sometimes we'll give a prize for that. But we do that, we highlight those members because I want to thank you for being here and I want to be so grateful for those people. And I very strategically want to encourage more of those actions. And I know if I highlight those people, they're going to feel great. They're going to want to do more of that. And everyone who isn't engaging is seeing, oh, I'm allowed to share in this group. I'm allowed to engage in this group. This is something that might get me some free visibility. This might get me highlighted. This might get me boosted in the group, right? This might serve me and my business. And so that's a way we encourage some of the actions we want to get. So those are two examples there. And also, if you have a Facebook group, really practical actions you can take as well, or strategies you can take for growing not just a group, but growing a group that is engaged and profitable. But I would really think through that lens of how can you give what you want to get, and how can you encourage those actions you want your community or your audience to take, and think through the lens of like, how can we just always be putting in strategy or taking actions ourselves as business owners to encourage those things, versus kind of thinking, I think sometimes we just almost think it's like up to luck, or like it's just gonna happen, or like once there's more people in the group that will naturally occur. And I'm sure there's some degree of truth to that. And I want everyone to see here, you have the ability to decide what those actions you want people to take are and to really encourage them. I have some clients who will do giveaways, right, to really encourage certain actions. We do a giveaway on this live stream every week because I want to encourage you to show up and hang with me. I also want to thank you because there's 8 trillion places. There's so many Facebook groups. There's so many live streams you could watch, right? That's a way I'm encouraging the actions I want to take. And also, I mean, gifts are my love language. It's also a way. I just love you all, and I want everyone here to know I'm so grateful for them, and I want everyone here to make oodles of money. So anything I can do to support you with that, that's kind of my whole life's purpose. So it's selfish in that way, and that it makes me happy to be able to do that, but it also is really strategic and it gets to be both. So that is something I would invite you to think about and to see. It's not like do this one thing and that's going to grow my group and it's going to be engaged and profitable. However, you can take this thought process and think, how can I give what I want to get? What's a way I can do that? And how can I encourage what I want to get? What are some really practical, strategic ways I can do that and really encourage that? And if I'm not doing that right now, that there's a great opportunity that I can do to increase the engagement in my group or with my audience. Oh my goodness. Let's see how we're doing on time. Do we have time for one more thing? What else did I want to share here? I think those are the main pieces here. I'm going to do a little recap and let me know if you have questions, reflections, if anything didn't make sense.
But I think this is a piece I sort of touched on earlier that I kind of want to close as like a closing loop here. One of the pieces here, is this what? Just making sure there wasn't any like, sometimes I like have 800 things I want to share with y'all, and I get done with the live stream like, oh, I just never touched on this bullet. So I'm just kind of making sure that I got the main pieces here, because I wanted to keep this as simple as possible. But I also wanted to keep this, make sure I did actually give you all the things I promised I was going to share. But I think we got the main thing here. So what I wanted to close with though is remembering that when we're thinking about growth with audience growth, really for all of you, you're mostly service-based business owners here, you're passion-driven, you're heart-centered. Most of you, I'm guessing most of you are not monetizing your businesses based on your audience side. There are going to be anomalies. I have clients, again, who are bloggers, and that is actually literally the number like of clicks they get is where their income comes from. And so I think that's a little bit of a different case there. But for most of you, the size of your audience is not what drives the profitability in your business. It's the depth of the relationships, the engagement piece there, right? It's the connection, and it's the connection you're building, the value you're giving up front. It is that know, like, and trust that is really where the profitability in your business comes from, and really probably the whole point of most of your Facebook groups, if you have them, or Instagram accounts or email lists. And so I want to invite all of you to really keep that reminder where it's seeing what is the actual goal in my business, and how can I really understand what actually drives those results, and seeing that, yes, your audience is absolutely connected to the profitability in your business. And that's something we always want to be focused on, right? If all of us, no matter what we're selling, we want to continue to, it's sort of like strategy 101 here for marketing. It's sort of like, how do we get in front of new people and bring them into our world? And then how do we nurture them and deepen those relationships and then sell to them, right? Like that's kind of like the whole game we're all playing. And seeing with that, it's so much more important to think about the depth of those relationships and thinking about it more like one-to-one, like one person at a time, as opposed to almost getting lost in the weeds where it's like as many people for the sake of having more people, because we almost get wrapped around the like dopamine hit we get when we have like more likes or more followers. To the degree, and the reason I know this is true, I actually wasn't sure if I was going to share this, but I'm going to share this. We deleted and lovingly kicked out, I think, over 500 people a couple weeks ago from this group. And on Instagram, I deleted a good 1,000 to 2,000 people recently. I've been really on a reverse growth strategy recently, because as you grow, you know, people just kind of end up in your group. Obviously, we get the people who want to do the Bitcoin thing, but there's just also been people who really aren't a fit for the group. And we're wanting to make sure this is a community that is for you and really connects like-minded people together and really serves all of you in the same way with Instagram. But I'm reflecting that to you because I think if we're just wrapped around the numbers and growing for the sake of growing, we can sometimes grow to our own detriment, in that we have, again, tons of people, but not the people that are going to be a great fit for your offers or that we're building those connections with. I think that's, again, when we just start, I mean, on Instagram, you can pay for followers. I'm one of those people who idiotically, I shouldn't say idiotically, but I'm very proud of past Kim and the choices she made, but I used one of those bot things, this was like 6 years ago, that would like follow and follow people. And so we have so many followers that really aren't aligned, but it grew my numbers, right? And so I think there's lots of ways where you can see, like, you can just have strategies that will grow your numbers overall. Facebook, right? You could just go spam a bunch of people, invite them into your group, just try to fill your group up to get those numbers up. But I think it's just seeing what would the point of that be? Whereas if you're really focused on that profitability and that engagement and seeing that the growth of your community will happen as a byproduct. Of course, we're not saying that's not important, but it's really in service of the profitability of your business. It's a very different strategy you're going to take. So wanted to close on that piece, and remember, like, the more you can take that focus, I promise you, the more your audience is going to serve your business. And then again, remembering wherever you're growing your audiences, the more you can take that focus of. And so yes, we want to know our business goals and our profitability goals, and the more we can almost make it not about us. So it's sort of like it's all about our business goals and also all not about us at all. And the more we can make it about our community, our audience, and yes, serving them with our own value, but also seeing how can we connect them and give them
really strategic reasons, really valuable reasons to be in your community, the more that's going to serve, yes, the growth of your group, but also that engagement and that profitability. And then just kind of going through the practical steps we talked about. We talked about the consistency, showing up every day, engaging every day. I know that's so basic and so boring, but it really is the truth. We have shown up every single day in this group when there were 13 people, and showing up for 13 people or 20 people or 100 people the same way you would for 16,000 or 50,000, I think is really where the engagement and profitability comes from. I know there are people in this group who I've met in person, and there are people in this group who have been here from day one, but I think part of that reason is because I have been here with them from day one, and it's really important to me that we don't lose sight of that. And then again, those other strategic pieces is thinking about how you can give people a reason to hang out in your group, and maybe having some content or value that is specific there, choosing one platform and pointing all your other platforms strategically to that other platform. So if you are growing a Facebook group and you're on Instagram, using Instagram as a vehicle to point people back to your group, as opposed to having two platforms that are almost competing with one another. And looking at how can you create strategically those conversion events that serve your business goals, but really hosting them. If you have a group, hosting them in your group. If you're on Instagram, hosting them on Instagram, and hosting them on the place that you want to encourage growth, and seeing how you can really use that as a way to encourage people, again, to have a reason to hang out and engage in your group. And then kind of that last piece we talked about, give what you want to get and encourage the kind of actions you want to have happen in your group. I think those are all the bullet points we talked about. And then seeing it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. I think sometimes, again, we just think there's something like crazy that was done, but a lot of what you're seeing in this group, 16,700 people, is really these simple strategies, that mindset, that thought process, taking that lens, asking those questions, really taking that some of the choices we make, using that thought process behind it, and just rinsing and repeating this. And some of this is simply what happens when you keep doing the same thing and focusing on the same thing day after day, month after month, year after year. And so some of the secret here is also just being willing to play the long game. And the more you play the long game and pick and stick with something, the more that growth is going to seem like, oh my goodness, how are there so many people here? So I hope this was super valuable for you. I hope this was also permission giving for you. I hope this also helped simplify some of the strategy that goes into growing an engaged and profitable group or audience anywhere. And I also hope this gave you some of those thought processes you can apply to your business overall. And if you see, we've got two announcements. If you want to hang out and have some more goodness for your business, we've got our free masterclasses coming up next week. It might be next week. It's either next week. It's next week. Question all the rules for making money so you can make bank your way. This is one of my favorite masterclasses. I ran this probably 3 years ago. I don't think we've run it since, so it'll be a little modified since then. But if you know me, you know I'm all about helping you build, grow, and scale a profitable business on your terms. And the on your terms part is all about learning how to question the rules and make your own. It is not about saying or giving a middle finger to the rules. And it is not about just being a rule breaker for the sake of being a rule breaker. It's understanding how to think like a CEO and understanding how to learn to rethink things and to ask the right questions and to ask questions that allow you to come up with your own answers and to just question the standard default answers we get so often and learn how to question those to tap into your own answers for your own version of success. And so that's what we're going to unpack. It is one of my favorite topics. It's really valuable. I really think this is such a cornerstone of CEO thinking and CEO level mindset that allows you to grow and scale exponentially and make that next level income. I think it is also one of the things that people resist the most, even though they say they want this the most. I think there's a lot of fear that can come up here. So we'll talk about all of that. I will leave a link for that. It is, I think it's kitmargaretsinger.com/question money rules. I'll leave a link for that. We are giving away a free 60-minute 100K CEO mindset and strategy coaching session. I don't offer single sessions anymore. So this is a great way to get entered to win one of those so that I can support you to get the kind of results my clients do, which is everything from booking their first client ever to scaling to $1 million+ in their business. So I'll drop a link for that. I believe that's next week. You sign up, you get that, you get access to the playbook, all the good things. And then if you want more support with things like getting clear on the goals in your business, thinking learning how to think like a CEO and a business owner, learning how to get clear on the simple strategy and not muddle your strategy, and how to run at and take that consistent action so you can make more money on your terms. That is the work I do. I'm really good at it. My clients get epic results. We do have some openings coming up. We have an intensive next month. I think we might have a spot next month. We definitely do in October. And then I also have our one-on-one VIP coaching weekend here in New York City at Soho House at the Dumbo House, which is going to be luxurious and amazing. We have some limited spots available for that. So I'll drop a discovery call link and you can book a call. They're completely free and we can chat about what might be the best fit for you. All right, that is all the spiel for you. Again, I just want to thank you all again for being here, for being in this group. I love you. I appreciate you. Yes, we talked about growing the group and all of the strategy behind that, but I really genuinely am so grateful for every single person here. And it's such a joy to have this group and to get to share this work with you every week. So thank you for being here. I love you all. And I'll be back next week with our masterclass question, all the rules for making money so you can make bank on your terms. Bye.